Begin with breaking news this morning. The accused Club Q shooter has been formally charged. 305 charges were read this morning inside a Colorado Springs courtroom. 5 people were killed and 22 others were injured in the shooting at the LGBTQ club. Denver 7's Brandon Richard has the latest on what happened in court and what the district attorney had to say afterwards. Brandon?
Well, Jason, the shooting suspect back in court this morning to be formally charged with 305 different counts. Those counts include murder, attempted murder, assault, as well as bias-motivated charges. Now, this time the suspect, Anderson Lee Aldrich, appeared in court in person, and their appearance was noticeably different than the last time they appeared in court when they were slumped over in a wheelchair and struggled to speak. This time, though, the suspect was able to walk into the courtroom with shackles and sat upright at the table as formal charges were filed. I asked District Attorney Michael Allen if he was trying to send a message by filing over 300 different charges.
Well, I think the message that we sent is obviously when you file 305 counts in a case, that tells the public, this community, this state, and this nation that we are taking this case as serious as we possibly can, meaning that we are going to prosecute this case to the fullest extent of the law. We also have filed bias-motivated charges in this case, meaning that we think that there's enough evidence to satisfy our burden on bias-motivated offenses. We're not going to tolerate actions against community members based on their sexual identity.
Now, the judge will unseal the arrest affidavit in this case by the close of business tomorrow. Prosecutors who made that request did ask the judge to hold off for a day so that they could prepare the victims' families for that unsealing and what they might expect. A preliminary proof of evidence hearing that has been set to start on February 22nd of next year, but we are told that that date could change. Meanwhile, the suspect remains in jail without bond. We're live in Colorado Springs. Brandon Richard, Denver 7.
Brandon, thank you. And that number, 305 counts, appears to be very high. And we looked into our archives. Those 305 counts appear to be the most ever filed in a mass shooting in Colorado. In the Aurora shooting, there were 165 charges filed. The King Soopers shooting was 155. And the district attorney says there could be even more filed based on if more victims come forward. Now, after that tragic shooting, several churches and faith organizations from the Pikes Peak region are speaking out in support of the LGBTQ community. Denver 7's Veronica Acosta spoke with 2 faith organizations about why this is so important.
Grace and St. Stephen's is an Episcopal church, and we have been here since the 1800s. Our worship is pretty formal, and yet our people are not.
In the past 7 years as lead pastor, Jeremiah Williamson has opened these pews to everyone.
The LGBTQ plus community is part of our family.
For years, trying to make his church unlike many.
I think given the history of the church, a lot of folks in the LGBTQ plus community would assume that they're not welcome in congregation. We hope at Grace and St. Stephen's that we're always seen as a safe space for those in the LGBTQ plus community, that this is a place where anyone can come and worship and feel loved and be comforted.
And that's the same hope Jeff Ader has. He's the acting president at the Temple Beit Torah, a synagogue just a few minutes away.
We are a very inclusive, open, warm, welcoming, spiritual community. And we truly believe that it is our job to do good in the world.
The 2 places of worship, just a handful in Colorado Springs that often posted on social media sites, welcoming those in the LGBTQ plus community.
They're welcome here.
That message especially important now after a shooting killed 5 people and took away an important space.
Sunday morning was really emotional. I think folks were heartbroken.
And as flowers and candles lay outside of Club Q to remember, clergy across the Pikes Peak area want change. Just this week, more than 50 clergy members sent this letter affirming their support of the LGBTQ plus community. And though just a letter, Jeremiah and Jeff say for years they've hoped for change. Now they're asking for it.
Jeff and Jeremiah also made one thing really clear. They want anyone who might be watching who thought of Club Q as a safe space for them to also consider their church or their synagogue as that safe haven, at least for the time being. In Denver, I'm Veronica Acosta, Denver 7.
Veronica, thank you. To other news now, the family of a murdered Indigenous woman in southwest Colorado believes there wasn't enough urgency when she was first reported missing. The body of Rihanna Nicole Birch Woodhull was found over the weekend. She was expecting her third child. Her family said she had been missing for days and was last seen with her husband.
This was not like her to be gone that long. And that's what Felicia kept trying to tell them, like, this is not like her. This is not a habit. She's never been gone this long before. They have history between her husband, the one that's currently being charged. There's been some history there of domestic violence before.
Her older sister believes an arrest warrant that was out for Nicole and confusion over which police department had jurisdiction slowed down the response to her case. The family was able to get the new Office of Missing Murdered Indigenous Relatives involved. CBI says it can't comment on the initial responses of other agencies and that they are focused on investigating the murder. Adams 14 is giving a progress report of sorts on its plans to improve. The State Board of Education ordered the district to reorganize after years of low performance. Well, the district is now partnering with TNTP, a national nonprofit. In a release, the district says it's come up with academic, culture, climate, and talent goals going forward. There's also an added focus on equity to help close performance gaps for the most historically marginalized students. While the new year hasn't even started yet, it's already time to start thinking about where you want your kids to go to school next August. Colorado's school choice law lets students enroll at any school in the state as long as the school has room and the parents have transportation to that school. Now in Jefferson County, the Enroll Jeffco portal opens today. It's the place to confirm your child's current spot or apply for a new school. And it's the place to research other schools as well.
We have a school finder tool that families can use to research schools that are close to them or search for a particular program such as STEM or IB or preschool.
Jeffco families have to register by January 13th. Now, you don't have to rush. It's not first come, first served. The district will use a lottery to give out open spots. And one more important thing to check is start and end times. Jeffco is changing its start and end times next year. You can find those on the Enroll Jeffco website. Now, we looked up the dates for other school choice districts if you want to opt into that, and those dates really vary. Douglas County has already finished its first round of applications. The second round opens on January 23rd. Poudre School's window is open right now. It closes next Thursday. Cherry Creek School starts on January 1st. Denver starts January 13th, and Aurora starts January 15th. Coloradans could soon be saving money on prescription drugs. Governor Jared Polis and state health officials have now submitted a proposal to import prescription drugs from Canada. The governor signed bipartisan legislation back in 2019, which allows the state to seek approval from the federal government to create the program. Well, they are now seeking that approval. The state estimates this could save Coloradans up to $88 million per year. That program still needs approval from the FDA to move forward. Well, flu, COVID, and RSV are all driving up hospitalizations in Colorado. Experts at UC Health say their modeling suggests we are not even near the peak, and they are projecting a bigger increase over the coming weeks. Dr. Michelle Barron says flu season usually starts off slow, but this year they went from nothing to hundreds of cases in a very short window of time.
You don't know what it is automatically. Like 2 years ago, everybody was like, oh, you got COVID. And then we would figure out what to do. But it could be COVID, it could be flu, it could be RSV, because it can affect some people pretty severely. And so I think that obviously adds another layer to this. And we've had a couple of people who have had more than one, which is not great.
CDC is now recommending people wear masks and get vaccinated against both the flu and COVID-19. Dr. Barron says if you have young children or are caring for aging adults, be firm about not having family visit who are ill. Denver 7 will be